What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, I wanted to talk about the racial double standards within the sport of boxing that exist, that get swept under the rug or glossed over or pretended as we don't see what's going on. And that's when you have two undefeated superstar top 5 pound for pound best fighters in the world, and it absolutely gets swept under the rug as not the biggest fight in boxing because it doesn't include a foreign fighter or a Latino fighter. So it's not considered to be the biggest fight in the sport of boxing because people look at it and they state that it don't carry the same star status. And the way to do that, they say, well, Terence Crawford, undefeated 3 division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO World Boxing Organization welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound for pound fighter in the world with a record of 39 wins, no loss, no draw, 30 big wins by way of knockout, 35 years of age, 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. They tell you Terence Crawford is just not a major draw. Now, is Terence Crawford the biggest draw in the sport of boxing? No, he's not. But he makes for 50% of the biggest fight that I consider the biggest fight in boxing with a guy that happens to be a big draw, in my opinion. And that's undefeated, unified, 3-belt WBA, WBC, IBF welterweight world champion, superstar boxer who is widely considered by many to be top 2, if not #1 in some people's eyes, definitely top 5 pound for pound best fighters in the world, and Earl the True Spence Jr., who has a record of 28 wins, no loss, no draw, 22 big wins by way of knockout, 32 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. It would be for undisputed in the welterweight division. Errol Spence has done big pay-per-view numbers. He did 350,000 pay-per-view buys his first pay-per-view with 4 division world champion Mexican superstar boxer Mikey Garcia, who was a Mexican Latino fighter. Then he did 300 and a quarter, 325,000 pay-per-view buys, only 25,000 pay-per-view buys less than what he did with Mikey against 2-time welterweight world champion, who is now retired future Hall of Fame superstar boxer, Showtime Sean Porter. And then it went down and dipped again. But here's the proof against 2 division world champion Puerto Rican superstar boxer Danny Swift Garcia reportedly did about 315,000 pay-per-view buys. Well, Danny Garcia is a Latino Puerto Rican boxer. And Sean Porter and Errol Spence in the unification bout did bigger numbers than that fight, and only 25,000 sales less than with Mikey Garcia. So how much did the Latino fan base account for in the fights? Because when you had 2 African American fighters in Sean Porter and Errol Spence in Los Angeles, California, at the Staples Center, formerly known as the Staples Center, now as the Crypto Arena, they did 325,000 pay-per-view buys. Errol Spence and Mikey, who was a top 5 pound for pound best fighter at the time, undefeated, it did 350,000. So the Latino fan base only accounted for 25,000 pay-per-view buys. And when he fought Danny Garcia, it did 10,000 less pay-per-view buys than it did when he fought Sean Porter. So do you really truly need a Latino or Mexican fighter or a foreign fighter for 2 fights to sell? For 2 fighters to sell? Okay. Now, also with that said, I'm seeing people state that another undisputed showdown between 2 foreigners here in the States at the light heavyweight division for undisputed against undefeated, unified, WBC, WBO, IBF, light heavyweight world champion Russian Canadian superstar boxer ARTUR Beterbiev, who is 19 wins, no loss, no draw, 19 wins by way of knockout. ARTUR Beterbiev is 38 years of age, 5'11.5" with a 73-inch arm reach, facing another fellow countryman and Russian light heavyweight world champion WBA undefeated superstar boxer DMITRY Bivol, who has a record of 21 wins, no losses, no draws, 11 wins by way of knockout, 32 years of age, 6 feet tall with a 72-inch arm reach. Now, ARTUR Beterbiev is a knockout artist. knocked out every opponent he's faced. Dimitri Bivol is not. 21 fights, 11 knockouts, half. Okay? And so I'm hearing that Dimitri Bivol versus ARTUR Beterbiev will be a bigger fight than Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. Why is that? I know people are saying that undefeated, 3 division world champion, superstar boxer, Gervonta Tank Davis, who is definitely a superstar, cash cow, pay-per-view superstar. Okay, Gervonta Tank Davis has a record of 28 wins, no loss, no draw, 26 big wins by way of knockout, 28 years of age, 5'5" with a 67-inch arm reach, taking on undefeated lightweight, junior welterweight Mexican superstar title contender King Ryan Garcia, who is 23 wins, no loss, no draw, 19 wins by way of knockout, 24 years of age, 5'10" with a 70-inch arm reach. People are saying that Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Tank Davis is bigger than Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. Now, Ryan Garcia has done no pay-per-views. So Terence Crawford essentially accounts for 310 more thousand pay-per-views than Ryan Garcia, because Terence Crawford did, no, excuse me, 360,000 pay-per-views, okay, because he did 50,000 pay-per-views with Victor Postal, 150,000 with Mayor Khan, 150,000 with Sean Porter. So 350,000 pay-per-views. Ryan Garcia has done no pay-per-views. No big pay-per-view fights. Now, Gervonta Tank Davis, on the other hand, has done mega pay-per-view fights. Ryan Garcia has never fought for a world title, and obviously he's never won the world title and never been a champion. Right? Errol Spence has done bigger pay-per-view numbers than Gervonta Tank Davis. I'm not pitting Gervonta Tank Davis and Errol Spence against one another, nor am I pitting um, uh, uh, Ryan Garcia and Terence Crawford against each other. I'm comparing the obvious, which is the numbers. And the numbers tell me that Errol Spence is a bigger draw as far as pay-per-view sale go than Gervonta Tank Davis. Now, Gervonta Tank Davis, he did the highest gate. He broke records in the gates at the Barclays Center May 28th when he fought Rolly Romero, and he broke records at the gate at the Capital One Arena when he fought Hector Garcia in his last fight. So his gates have been massive. But in 2020, when Errol Spence fought Danny Garcia, he did the biggest gate in 2020. So Errol Spence is no slouch when it comes to the gates as well, right? So what now? Ryan Garcia has a huge social media following that has not proven to translate to the sport of boxing. Now, again, I believe that Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Tank Davis is a huge fight. But what makes it bigger than Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford? Because I believe that Errol Spence has proven to be just as big, if not bigger, of a pay-per-view star than Gervonta Tank Davis. Now, again, the gates is different, but it's being reported that Tank Davis did 250,000 pay-per-views in his last fight. Now, he did 5.2 at Capital One gate, and he did 5 million at the Barclays Center. So his gates numbers is undeniable. But Errol Spence has done over 300,000 pay-per-view buys all his outings. Right? And Terence Crawford did 150,000 twice. Ryan Garcia has done neither. So when you put the two together, and you're talking about for undisputed, they both have both are top 5 pound for pound best fighters in the world with their accomplishments. Ryan Garcia is not. Artur Beterbiev, 38 years of age, 19 knockouts, but nobody says that Artur Beterbiev is top 5, top 3 pound for pound best fighters in the world. Dimitri Bivol, on the other hand, he's been proven, especially with his last few fights when he fought against Canelo Alvarez and Gilberto Ramirez. He's proven himself, and I put him in the top 10. But again, is he top 5? Errol Spence and Terence Crawford are in most people's top 5 pound for pound pay-per-views. They both well accomplished. They make for an undisputed match. They both undefeated. They both show versatility, right? So what makes Dimitri Bivol versus Artur Beterbiev a bigger fight than Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, and what makes Gervonta Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia a bigger fight? Because you factoring in, people are factoring in, well, the Mexican fan base that support Ryan Garcia is going to come out and support. The Russian fan base is going to come out. The foreign fan base is going to come out and support Dimitri Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. the African American community is not going to come out and support Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. It's completely a myth and untrue. And it's up to the promoters to put it in the right location to be as successful. Just like you put Ryan versus Tank in the right location to be successful, and ARTUR Beterbiev versus DMITRY Bivol in the right place to be successful. You wouldn't put ARTUR Beterbiev versus DMITRY Bivol in Omaha, Nebraska, or you wouldn't put it in Dallas Cowboy Stadium in Texas, because you're not capitalizing on their would-be fan base, right? So why would you put Terence Crawford, Errol Spence in a place where it wouldn't be successful? You put Terence Crawford, Errol Spence in Atlanta, in Black Hollywood. You put Terence Crawford and Errol Spence in Washington, and Chocolate City. You put Terence Crawford, Errol Spence in the Barclays Center in New York, in Brooklyn. It's going to sell. It's going to sell. And we already know. Now, if you say, let's take the lowest numbers, right? Errol Spence did 315,000 pay-per-views with Danny. Let's say Terence Crawford did 50,000 pay-per-views with Victor Postal. Now you put those together, that's 375,000 pay-per-views. That was pretty much a success. That's almost 400,000 pay-per-views at their lowest. Now you got to factor in what's on the line, what's at stake. You got to factor in the high quality of this fight, the buildup for this fight, the anticipation for this fight, the fact that it's for Undisputed. Well, that should factor in another 25,000 pay-per-views. So now you're talking about 400, maybe 425 to 450,000 pay-per-views. That's a success for today's time with all the piracy. And as far as gate goes, we know Errol Spence is proven to be a gate seller. He did so with Danny Garcia. Why wouldn't he do it with Terence Crawford? So it's completely a myth, and it's irresponsible for people to continue to spew that Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, when you put two African American fighters or black fighters together, they're not going to sell because the black community don't come out and support them. It's completely a myth. It's a cop-out. So to say DMITRY Bivol and ARTUR Beterbiev, DMITRY Bivol did his pay-per-view was with Canelo Alvarez, who was already a superstar, who was directly passed the baton by another African American fighter in Floyd Mayweather. Canelo Alvarez was a star before he fought Floyd Mayweather, but he became a pay-per-view superstar after he fought Floyd Mayweather, and he lost that fight. And that's who Floyd Mayweather directly passed Canelo Alvarez the baton, built him up, one of the biggest pay-per-view events in history. And then Canelo Alvarez carried that torch. He did well by it. But DMITRY Bivol fought Canelo Alvarez. What pay-per-view fights did he sell? What pay-per-view fights are ARTUR Beterbiev selling? None. So what makes them a bigger fight than Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, who's already proven to do pay-per-views? Are they doing the biggest pay-per-view numbers? No. But they already fighting on pay-per-view. Ryan Garcia didn't sell out the Staples Center, his hometown of LA. So you factor in, you putting the two fan bases, the rivalry together. African American community versus Mexican community, understood. Right? But that don't say that you put two African American fighters together, they won't sell, because they will. And it's irresponsible for people to continue to tell the world that these fights are bigger than Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, because they're not. And that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.